Drew Brees turns back the clock, leads Saints past Panthers in NFL playoffs. New Orleans. The New Orleans Saints made the most of their return to the NFL playoffs Sunday as quarterback Drew Brees celebrated with a turn-back-the-clock performance. Brees' prolific once-more passing carried the Saints to a 31-26 triumph over the Carolina Panthers in an NFC first-round game. The fourth-seeded Saints beat the Panthers for the third time this season, knocking Carolina quarterback Cam Newton from the game temporarily on a fourth-quarter hit and then holding on late, and moved a step closer to a possible Super Bowl return for Brees. They will play at Minnesota against the second-seeded Vikings next weekend in a conference semifinal. The balance of the Saints' offense that was on display during the regular season gave way to Brees being the centerpiece in a pass-first approach Sunday. He threw for 376 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Saints sprinted to a first-half lead and didn't look back, as their defense limited the fifth-seeded Panthers to field goals instead of touchdowns until a furious fourth quarter. Newton had a superb performance in which he threw for 349 yards and ran for 37 more. But the Panthers simply could not get into the end zone to finish drives until Newton threw a 14-yard touchdown pass to tight end Greg Olsen with just less than 13 minutes remaining. That pulled the Panthers to within 24-19. But on Carolina's next drive, Newton was hit in the helmet by Saints defensive tackle David Onyemata on a sack. Newton got up and tried to reach the Panthers' sideline but fell to his knees on the way there. He was taken from the game and replaced by backup Derek Anderson. The Saints upped their lead to 31-19 on a touchdown run by tailback Alvin Kamara. Newton returned to the game and threw a 56-yard touchdown pass to running back Christian McCaffrey. Brees threw a fourth-down interception on a gamble by the Saints. But the Panthers' last-gasp drive stalled after reaching New Orleans territory, in part because of an intentional grounding call on Newton. Newton was sacked on fourth down with 5 seconds left to seal the outcome. The Panthers' once promising season comes to an abrupt end, and now they face an off-season of uncertainty in which owner Jerry Richardson has said he will sell the franchise while he is investigated by the NFL for alleged workplace misconduct. It was a day that belonged to the Saints, who never trailed. They did suffer a loss to the offensive line that safeguards Brees when guard Andrus Peat was taken from the field on a cart, reportedly after suffering a fractured fibula. The Saints are back in the playoffs after 3 straight 7-9 seasons. They were hosting their first postseason game at the Superdome since the 2011 season. The atmosphere around town was predictably festive, and the crowd that was gathered inside the dome was ridiculously loud and enthusiastic. Fans cheered loudly when Steve Scalise, the Republican congressman from Louisiana who was wounded in last spring's shooting at a Washington-area baseball field, was shown with his son on the stadium's video boards. Brees and coach Sean Payton teamed to lead the Saints to a Super Bowl triumph after the 2009 season. But they have not been back to the NFC title game since then. The Saints are one step away from that now, with Brees set to turn 39 in a week and eligible for unrestricted free agency in the offseason. The Saints were improved this season in large part because Brees had so much help. The Saints could run the football on offense, with Pro Bowl running backs Mark Ingram and Kamara, and they actually could play defense. Brees was asked to throw the ball less often. He passed for far fewer yards than has been his New Orleans norm. But he still was very good, setting a single-season NFL record for completion percentage. And it was back to being the Brees show at the outset of Sunday's game. In the first half alone, Brees connected on 13 of 18 passes for 230 yards and 2 touchdowns. He got things going in the first quarter with a deep throw to speedy wide receiver Ted Ginn Jr., a former Panther, for an 80-yard touchdown. When he threw his second touchdown pass, this one to tight end Josh Hill, early in the second quarter, the Saints had a 14-3 lead despite having only 6 rushing yards to that point. Brees completed all 7 of his passing attempts for 77 yards on that drive. Fullback Zach Lyne's 1-yard touchdown run upped the lead to 21-6 later in the second quarter and prompted a particularly boisterous rendition of the customary "Who dat?" chant by the crowd. The Panthers, seeking their second Super Bowl appearance in a span of 3 seasons, could not keep pace. They had a chance to take an early lead on their second drive of the day. But wide receiver Kellen Clay dropped a would-be touchdown pass, and kicker Graham Gano missed a 25-yard field goal attempt. Gano redeemed himself by connecting on 3 field goals later in the half, including a 58-yarder just before the break. But trading field goals for Saints touchdowns wasn't going to work. Gano's 4th field goal of the game came early in the third quarter, but Saints kicker Will Lutz answered with a 50